Get it picked up. Ooh, well, that's a heavy one there. It went, it went all the way around. Let's see, that's 9, 10, 11 pounds. Okay.
Not as heavy.
9
pounds.
Hello everybody, it's Danny back from Deepsouth Homestead. Guys, in the world we live in today, there's chemicals in everything. And here at Deepsouth Homestead, yes, I do have a video up showing using sodium nitrite in some bacon I cured years ago. But since then, I've developed a intolerance to the sodium nitrites and nitrates that are in food. Even if it's the celery-based one, I mean, when it breaks down, nitrites, nitrite, nitrates, nitrate. So what we're going to be doing today, we just raised one of our own pigs here at our homestead. We raised him up about, we purchased him, he was around 35 pounds. We kept him for 4 months. He dressed out about 100, well, his hanging weight was 180 pounds. And we decided, rather than go the sodium nitrite way with the bacon this year, we're going to do it the old-fashioned way, and we're just going to salt cure it. I mean, because the bottom line is this. We're not trying to keep bacon for 3 years down the road. I mean, that's why the old people used things like saltpeter and the nitrites and stuff like this to preserve bacon, was because they kept it for long term. And they had big families and stuff like this. Today, we're just going to make this bacon, and when we get through with it, it's going to go in the refrigerator and in the freezer. It's not going to be sitting here for months on end. It's going to be in cold storage. There's no need using the nitrites. So we're going to go with strictly a salt cure today, and I'm going to show you how we do it. Now, the first piece of pork belly we have here off of our pig, now it is still frozen somewhat. That's what I wanted. I didn't want it thawed completely out. This one is 11 pounds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a knife here and I'm just going to kind of guess at it. I'm going to cut it half in two. But first, before I do, I'm going to get one of my bags here, because this is what we're going to be doing with it. We're going to be actually putting it in these 2-gallon bags. Now, a lot of people buy 1-gallon bags. I don't like the 1-gallon bags. I like the 2-gallon ones. And I like to look to make sure that it's going to fit in there good. So it looks like I'm going to be able to get both of them, if I cut them in half, into the 2-gallon bag. And then I've already pre-weighed the whole thing. I'm going to try to guess at about half of this, but I'm going to re-weigh it just to make sure I don't get way out of whack, because this is not rocket science, guys. We're just going to try to get it close. We want 5 pounds in each one if we could get it that way, but this one's 11 pounds. So if I could get 5 in one, 6 in the other, 5.5, 5.5, I mean, it doesn't matter to me which way, because it's not rocket science. So I'm going to kind of guess here at it, and we're going to cut through it. It's still a little frozen. Now that, look at that.
Isn't that gorgeous?
Woo, now that is what bacon's supposed to look like right there.
This is going to be good.
Yes, there's an extra little piece of meat right there. Let's just take a look and let's just see how close I got. I don't believe you could get any closer than that. It's like 5 1/8 of a pound or something like that. All right, we're going to take this other one over here. I can tell it's a little bit heavier.
Almost
like
6.
5 3/4 of a pound. Okay, we have it flipped over here. So, you know, we're going to look around. Anything we see that looks undesirable, like when they skin your hogs out, I tell them, look, try to save me as much of the fat as you can. And you can see where the guy, when he runs a machine down it, there's a few little hair follicles in it. I'm going to kind of like trim some of that out of there, because I don't particularly want that in my bacon. He cuts it so close. This is still frozen, guys. I don't want to push too hard on it. But I'm going to try to see if I can't just lightly skim this off of here and get rid of those hair follicles. Lightly shave that off. One right here. We're going to shave that off. Alright guys, now I'm going to show you the mixture that I use here at Deep South Homestead. And we're only going to use 2 ingredients. Now there's as many different ways to do this as there are people to do it, okay? Like I said, this is not rocket science. So, you can do it several different ways. You can take, now I only use kosher salt. I use coarse kosher salt because I believe it does a better job. If you use the finer grained salt, what you end up with is your bacon ends up being way too salty because it just goes into the meat because it's so fine. I've learned the coarser does better. Now, there's a couple of ways you can do this. And I'm gonna kind of like, maybe I can show it like this here. Some people, we'll do it over here so I don't get it spilled everywhere. Some people do 1 tablespoon per pound. So we got 5 pounds. Let's just say we do 5 tablespoons. And I'm doing this for a reason, to show you guys something. So there's no arguments about something. Or, lots of people go 1/3 cup. This is a 1/3 cup. 5 tablespoons is 1/3 of a cup per 5 pounds. Now, the sugar with me is exactly the same way. You can do it one tablespoon per pound. But me, I like to go a little bit more, and I'm using brown sugar. Now you can use the dark or the light, but this is 1/3 of a cup right here. But guys, I like good tasting bacon, and sugar is also a preservative. So we're gonna go 1/3 and just a little bit less than 1/3, which will make it technically, if you want to speak to it, about a 1/2 cup, if you want to be honest about it. Now, if you really wanted to go fancy with it, you could have eliminated this other piece of a cup here, and you could have put 1/3 of a cup of like maple syrup or something like that in there.
Cane syrup.
Or cane syrup. You could do either one, and it would really enhance the taste of it. But today, we're just going to mix this up right here. Now, some people don't measure their salt out. Some people just take their salt and literally just pour it on the meat. And that's fine if you want to do that. It's just that I'm going to tell you something from experience. Having had a YouTube channel now for 6 years, if I don't give exact measurements, people are going to freak out. To be honest with you, I just sprinkle salt on mine. But I know the amount of salt that I'm going to be using, and when I sprinkle it on, I know about how much salt that is. But for you guys' sakes, I'm giving you measurements. Okay guys, I have other videos out there from years ago about making bacon. And there's nothing wrong with these videos, they're perfectly fine. They have a different different measurements in them. And it's like I was just telling you, it's all about preference, about what you want to do. But some people have sent messages to me and told me, said, man, I tried your bacon in my first video, and they said, wow, it's just way too salty. It's all a preference to me, but that's not a big issue. Don't freak out. Even if this bacon ended up being too salty, don't freak out. I made a second video and came along behind that, and I divided the salt in half in it for those people who wanted it less salty. And I even had some people still sending me messages going, man, it's just still too salty. I'm like, okay, don't freak out. It's a real easy fix. Whenever you get ready to cook your bacon, once you've sliced it, take the bacon and put it in a saucer or some sort of a container full of warm water for about 10 to 15 minutes and let it soak and take the bacon out, and it won't be salty. It's a real easy fix, guys. It's not rocket science when we're doing this. All right. Now, I have plastic lugs ordered online. I thought they would be here by now, but they didn't make it. So I would normally have put these in a plastic lug to do this, but I don't have a plastic lug to do it in today. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm just going to, and you always want to rub and pat this stuff in. Make it stick. Make it stick. Work it in. It's not going to hurt it. And I try not to waste anything, because usually if I'm in a plastic lug, I can save everything. But because I'm not in one today, I'm trying to take in my time, and I'm trying to work this stuff in. And don't freak out when you're doing it. It's not anything really hard. Now, a lot of people, I'll say this, there's another thing people's going to say, and I already know it because I've done this too much. Danny, why didn't you square it up and make perfect little things out of it? There's a perfectly good reason for that, guys, and I'm going to tell you what it is right now. I don't waste anything, and when Wanda and I get through curing this, I square mine up after I cure it, before I slice it with a slicer, because the pieces that I cut off after I cure it, those are the pieces that I use in things like ham and beans, and with ham with beans and stuff like this, or turnip greens and stuff like this. If you want a piece of, people used to say fatback, or a good piece of smoked meat, and throw it over in there to give it that real good taste. When I square this baby up to put it on the slicer to make bacon out of it, those trimmings I cut off of it will go into a pack for seasoning meat. So we were not wasting anything on our animal here. And we have this. As you let it sit there for just a second, you can see it starting, the sugar starting to melt into it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to be real easy with it. I'm going to turn it over real easy like. And I'm going to take this here. And now we're going to go on this side of it. And don't get all panicky if you can't get it just right, because I'm going to show you in just a minute why. You don't have to worry about all that. Woo, that is looking so good. That's some fine looking bacon right there. Yeah, that's looking real. It'll stick enough, but it's gonna go in the thing. Okay, you notice we turned our lip on our Ziploc bag to the outside. That's so the salt and the sugar won't get in it. And we're gonna take the excess that fell off of it right here. We're going to pick that up and we're just going to throw it up in the bag. So we keep our measurements all the same. And the reason we don't worry about too much about how we're going to get it all up on the meat, like that right there. Let me wash my hands, because I don't want to make a mess here. Okay, now this is a 2-gallon Ziploc bag. We like to use the 2-gallon ones because we don't like the little 1-gallon ones, because you have to cut your pork belly into so many little small pieces now. And we're going to do this right here. Make sure we get it snapped good. And you want to make sure it gets zipped really, really good. I'm going to slide this back, and I'm going to take some of this air out of it. Make sure it's sealed good. Now that we have it, the reason we didn't worry about it so much is because what we're going to be doing is we're going to put this in the refrigerator, And every day for 7 days, we're going to flip it. And when you flip it, you see, you're going to end up with the same amount of salt on each side of it. The salt's on this side one day, and the next day you're going to flip it over like this, and we put the date on it right here. And what we'll do is when we put it into our container to put in the refrigerator, we will lay them all in the same direction. If we put them in there like this right here, skin side up, we'll put them all skin side up so that when we flip it, we will know if one's not flipped because they'll all be identical. And on the calendar, we will mark what day we start and what side was up, whether it was flesh side or skin side that was up. That way, we don't get confused during the 7 days.
All the bacon is skin side up. It's been 24 hours. We're going to flip it all over. You see the juice in there. We're just going to let it just drain everywhere and flip all of them over. See the juice in that? And this juice will just run to the other side. And there's 4 of them, so we got to get this one. This is day 1. It already looks pretty awesome. Day 1. Now all 4 pieces are skin side up for the next 24 hours. And they're going back in the refrigerator.
Okay guys, our 9 days is up. We decided to go 9 because of the severe weather and always having instead of 7. We've been flipping them once every day. Now is the time. We had 4 in here. We've already taken 2 out and laid them over to the side. Now's the time to take these out and to actually wash all the salt and sugar off of them. Alright, see, this is the amount of liquid we got out of this right here. It has drawn out of here. I'm going to drain it all out. I'm going to take that out of there. We're going to wash this. Get as much of the old salt and mixture and all off of there as we can. You're not going to get it all off, but you get the most of it. Alright. The object here is going to be now is of course we'll stack them all up right now, but we're going to go back and separate them all into individual pans. Don't let it touch metal. We're going to be putting some wax paper down. And then once we're going to do that, we're going to pat them dry and we're going to hang them to let them air dry for a while. One. I don't want to flip that. Okay guys, I'm out here this morning. It is freezing cold. We are getting our bacon hooks hung in or pushed into our bacon here. we're going to be taking this and letting it hang for just a little while to dry off some. We've already patted it dry. Okay, we're trying to get this hung up outside for a little while, being it's so freezing cold out here, to dry off a little bit before we start smoking it, so that the smoke will adhere to the meat better when it's dry and not when it's wet. So we got a light breeze blowing out here early this morning. It's in the mid-20s. Perfect day. It's supposed to barely get above freezing here today. And with the wind chill, it may not even get above freezing. So it's going to be a real good day for cold smoking our bacon. All right, guys, we've got the smokehouse going. We got the smoker rolling, and that's it's cold this morning. It's real cold. You can see the smoke just coming out my mouth, even just talking. And let me close the door up here for just a minute. Maybe that'll alleviate a little bit of it. Now, that's how cold it is. It's just right for smoking bacon. This is what you want. You want a temperature that's like in the 20s or maybe low 30s or something like that, and that's what we got this morning. The only problem is we got a strong wind blowing, and that's making it just a little bit difficult to control the temperature. But other than that, we think to start putting bacon in the smokehouse. You're gonna have to give it just a second here to. That's what you call smoke.
Smoking. A Jim Carrey movie. Smoking.
I'm telling you, I'm just gonna have to jump in here and do it. Well,
There.
I can't see. I haven't got my eyes closed, and I'm like, okay. Get it turned around.
Hold
here.
your breath, close your eyes, and try to do stuff.
Woo! Man.
Them bacon hangers
I've got
is
little hooks in there to hook it on.
them bacon hangers come in handy.
Oh, that's the only way to go. The only way to go.
Oh, I see the hooks. I don't know if
Yeah, I got little hooks.
I don't know if it'll pick it up or not. It's so smoky, but yeah.
Yeah.
On those back ones you do.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get my eyes. I gotta readjust here for a minute.
Go for it.
Okay, I'll have to move one here in a minute, guys, because my eyes got where I couldn't see. Okay, is that one?
The poles were a little bit thick, so you had to put hooks.
Yeah. Man, I can't. My eyes are burning so bad. Whew. All right. Cold. I want to talk just a little bit about the wood. I have 4 different types of wood here at my smokehouse, depending on what I'm smoking as to which one I actually will use. Today we're using red oak. A lot of times I use apple for my bacon, but I am a little bit partial to red oak because red oak to me puts a really good flavor in bacon. First of all, what I'm going to do here, let me explain something before I get going. I'm going to run my heat on up in the smokehouse where I can dry my meat off as much as possible before I actually put the wood in there that I want smoking good. Now I've got dry red oak in it right now to run that heat up there. And as soon as I get a bed of coals, I just this morning went and split some nice red oak that's still a little bit green. We cut it a few weeks ago when we was trimming limbs out around the barn. But I have red oak, I have apple, I have hickory, and I have pecan. I used to use a lot of apple when I did the bacon, and it's really good. It leaves a sweet taste in the bacon. But I've learned I'm not so much really crazy about that particular flavor anymore. The red oak to me puts a better all-around taste in the bacon. Now, not to say that I won't ever use apple again, because I probably will. It's just that hickory to me is a little bit too strong for bacon. Pecan is a very mild wood. Now it makes a really good tasting like barbecue and stuff like that. If you're going to have ribs and things like that, pecan does really good, I've learned, for ribs and stuff like that. The apple is really good for things like bacon. If you want to smoke like a beef brisket or something, I use the red oak for the beef briskets and things like that. And I may throw a little bit of apple in with the beef brisket because it just gives it a little bit more sweet texture to it. But it's just basically personal preference. But I keep 4 different kinds of wood here at the smokehouse for smoking. And like I said, right now, I'm just interested in running the temperature up. Ms. Wanda's going to tell me what it is on the door. There it goes. Look at the green wood in there, get a little smoke going now. Okay guys, we've been at 200 for a while, but it's dropped back to about 190. It's been here for like 2 hours now. I was gonna cold smoke it, but I got to telling Wanda, I'm like, why not just go ahead and heat the internal temperature of it up to about 130 to 150, because usually the temperature varies. When the temperature in the smokehouse says 190, there's usually about a 20 or 30 degree difference between that and the meat. So I'm trying to keep it around 140 to 150, so I'm hoping that that we'll be able to do that. Okay guys, here in the sun on the south side of the building, you see it going up? It was sitting at, look at it going up, sitting here in the sun, 46, 45. It's actually colder than that out here, but we're on the sunny side of the building here. Now we're gonna stick this in the meat, because this is supposed to be an instant read thermometer. This is the thickest part of the meat up here.
What temperature you wanting it at?
Well, I was wanting 130, but it's the thickest part of the meat.
You're getting 100.
I don't know how much longer I can stand here.
101. 102. It's not much more than that, so you got to go a while. Level, well.
I'm in the thick part of it here.
It's leveling out at 103
so far. Okay. All right. Ooh, smoke back. All right, let's stick it in. Is it up there? Okay, we're still at 180. It's a pretty color. Look at the color of it. Beautiful. Mahogany. Look at that.
Look at the color.
Look at that color. Thick part.
Man, it jumped right quick, didn't it?
It jumped that time.
All right.
136. $137. I'm curious, did the
Try another piece.
thinner part? God, it's burning my eyes.
Show 137.
The thin, thick, all of it's the same.
Check another piece. That one's going up. Then went to 138.
Yeah.
So 137 right now, the 138.
All right. Get it there right quick. Well, we're past 220 on it now. That's as far as she goes. It don't go no further than that. So it may be hotter than that in there. Here we go, guys. Woo! There's a lot of heat coming out of there.
Look how pretty.
I'm starting to cool off in here. Well, and I'm in the fat. Hold on, let me get this in the
meat.
In the meat.
All right.
Oh, look at that.
Wow.
Okay, I'm in the meat. It's done. It is technically done.
Yeah.
And I'm in the thick part of it too, in the meat. 150.
That's awesome.
It is technically done. It has dripped grease on the floor and everything in here. So
not a lot, but
it's holding its temperature, 150. So that's perfect.
It's beautiful.
Technically, pork is done at 145 to 160, so that's like perfect.
But we're gonna be frying some of this after a while.
We're gonna be making some bacon. Moment of truth. Look at that. You don't get no prettier than that. That's some of the prettiest bacon I've ever made right there. Look at that. That's beautiful.
The color's gorgeous.
Oh, honestly, I don't think I've ever made any of that pretty.
You've never hot smoked it either, or
No, I had never
heated it on up, cooked it.
Yeah, I've never run it up to that high temperature. I've always cold smoked.
I think we're gonna slice some off and try it in a little bit. What you think?
I think it sounds like a winner. All right, these are still pretty warm, so we're gonna take the bacon hooks out. There we go. Now we're gonna wash them to get any residue off of them with cold water. This, we just left it as it was because we didn't want to waste none of it when we smoked it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of like square this up because we're going to be using a slicer on it as soon as it gets ready to. And this stuff like this, we done this because we wanted these pieces for like smoking, making homemade rice and beans and stuff to that nature. Look at that. That just looks good to me. All right, there's our first piece. That's the end of that. Man, or the end of that. This is actually cooked. You can look at that and tell it's cooked. We're going to put this in the refrigerator overnight. Let it have time to stiffen up. This is called letting it bloom. We're going to let it bloom tonight. That way tomorrow it'll be good and hard and stiff, and when we run it through the slicer, we'll be able to slice all of our bacon where it looks really, really good. Okay, we cooked a little bit of it here. I was trying to cut up some pieces here for our seasoning meat, and I like to let it go too far in the skillet. So, but oh my gosh.
Is it salty?
Not really. And I cut it really thick. He's ready to break the end off of it. And this is on the outside edge, so.
It's really not salty.
It's not salty at all. I mean, it's salty, but not what I call over salty.
It's got that sweet taste.
Mm-hmm. And it's cut really thick, so. Isn't that pretty? Now this piece here was a little saltier.
Was it inside or?
Still not really bad salty.
No, not salty at all.
I think that, and it's chewy.
It's different.
And it's probably because I cut it thick. When we use a machine and we cut thin slices, it probably will be a lot better. And this was on the very outside edge where it got cooked before I sliced it. So when we get to the inside, it may make a lot of difference about saltiness, about how chewy, about everything, you know. So I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to turn out real good.
So we'll check tomorrow after slicing.
Yep, tomorrow after we slice it, we'll do it again. We have completely finished today, slicing all of our bacon up. We were really surprised at how beautiful it turned out to have no pink salt in it. This is just, I mean, look at this. That is amazing looking bacon to absolutely have no pink salt in it whatsoever. I was really thinking it was going to turn out to have more of a brownish look to it than it did, but to me, I mean, it looks amazing to be home-raised bacon and home-cured bacon. Nothing but salt and brown sugar. That's all we used in it. But we end up with around 15 pounds of with bacon, the bacon ends, and the seasoning meat that I trimmed off of it whenever I squared it up to slice it and everything. So around 15 pounds, which I feel like is pretty good. A pretty good stash once it's all smoked, moisture pulled out of it and everything like that. It's well worth that to me and Wanda. Now we still have one whole hog to go, which is about twice the size of this one, so we're actually looking forward to doing some more bacon with that one. This one was smoked with red oak, as you'll see in the smoking videos. We wanted to do some red oak because I really like the taste of red oak in something when I smoke it. I also use apple wood sometimes, but this time we decided to go with the red oak. And it had done a fantastic job on it. So I hope that I hope the video this time, not using any pink salt, is going to be able to help a lot of people out, because I got where physically the pink salt just does something to my system. And I know a lot of people's going to say, oh, but you could use celery seeds. It's got a natural nitrite. Nitrites across the board for me messes with me. It just causes me to have some stomach issues as I've gotten older in life. And this way, I don't have any of that in there. And guys, let's just be honest about it. When you're using nitrites and nitrates and stuff, that was for back in the day whenever they smoked meat and it hung out in the smokehouse for 6 months to a year at a time, and you didn't want it to ruin. Guys, this is going straight into a freezer, and I doubt it's going to last that long anyway, because me and Wanda are probably going to eat it all up for then. But it's perfectly cured. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. As a matter of fact, when I smoked it, you'll see in our smoking video that I actually raised the temperature on this up to 150 degrees while I was smoking it, the internal temperature of it, which meant that we could have actually sliced it off right there at the smokehouse and ate some if we had wanted to. But we brought it home and we actually cut some off of it and fried it up in a skillet. And I'm telling you, you're going to see in the video, it was amazing. It's amazing. I can't even explain the taste of it. So guys, another video from Deep South Homestead on how to home cure, smoke, and slice your bacon. I mean, you just don't get any better than this. Thank you guys from Deep South Homestead.